Welcome to Yuno and Kenzo Koga, where ancient wisdom meets modern life.
Subscribe now and join us on this journey of awakening. If this resonates, tap like and share it with someone who would appreciate a moment of peace today. And feel free to share any thoughts or reflections in the comments. We'd love to hear from you.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're taking on something pretty fascinating. It might actually change how you think about thinking. I mean, who hasn't felt that, right? That constant buzz in your head, the analyzing, trying to work everything out, and sometimes you just end up feeling, more tangled up than when you started. It's super common. But what if, just what if, the real key to, let's say, deeper insight or even just some peace isn't more thinking, but maybe less. We're going to explore some really profound ideas today, ideas from a wisdom tradition that kind of flips our usual assumptions about thought right on their head. It's like an invitation to step outside our own mental loops for a bit.
Yeah, and what's fascinating here is this isn't a new observation. For centuries, thinkers have noticed this human thing, this drive to overthink, to constantly need a reason, a cause for everything. We're always, sort of manipulating words in our minds, trying to build explanations. And look, that's very human. It's how we navigate. But this tradition suggests that sometimes that very activity, that constant mental effort, can actually hide what's really important. It even suggests the deepest stuff often lies, well, beyond that kind of thought.
That really resonates. It feels like we're always trying to solve our own lives.
Yeah.
Something happens, good or bad, and boom, the mind jumps in trying to dissect it, figure out the why, the how, like understanding it perfectly will somehow give us control or something.
Exactly. And the paradox that this specific tradition, particularly Zen, points out is that the harder you try to grasp certain things intellectually, the further away they can seem. There's this great reflection from someone encountering Zen early on. They said something like, the more I thought about it, the further away it felt. Just kept slipping away. But then something shifted. When the intense thinking stopped, when there was just quiet sitting, this inexpressible tranquility just sort of surfaced. And the key thing was, it wasn't like, I found the answer. It was more like realizing, there was no need to search for an answer in that way. The peace was already there, just buried under the noise.
Wow, that's a huge shift in perspective. It really pushes against our usual desire to understand everything, doesn't it? We always want to know, why did that happen? Or, okay, how do I fix this? Or how do I make it better?
And from this viewpoint, those very questions, that constant striving to figure it all out intellectually, can actually be seen as a form of delusion. Think about it like this. There's a beautiful analogy they use. Imagine opening your curtains to this stunning sunrise. Your first instinct probably isn't, what's the precise wavelength of that orange light? What are the exact atmospheric particles causing that scattering?
No, definitely not. You just think, wow, that's beautiful.
Exactly. Just feel it. Beautiful. And that direct hit, that unanalyzed experience, is totally enough. It's complete in itself.
Yeah.
Zen really is precisely that. It points to that direct, unvarnished experience of reality before the mind layers on all the commentary.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So if the path involves less analytical thinking and more just being with the experience, what does that actually look like? How do we handle the thoughts that inevitably pop up? Is there a specific technique or state?
Right, so this leads us to a core concept, often called mushin. It sometimes gets translated as no mind. Now, that sounds kind of extreme, right? Like you have to completely empty your head, think absolutely nothing. But that's a common misunderstanding. It's not really about stopping thoughts altogether.
Okay. So it doesn't mean becoming a mental blank slate.
Not at all. Thoughts are natural. They'll arise. Mushin is more about not getting entangled by them. It's about letting them flow through your awareness without grabbing onto them, without judging them, without getting caught up in their stories.
So it's like watching traffic go by, maybe. You see the cars, but you don't jump out in front of them or try to direct them. You just observe.
That's a great way to put it. Or the classic images are things like clouds drifting across the sky. You see them, they move, they change shapes, and they pass. Or leaves blowing in the wind. You just notice them without interference, without feeling the need to do anything about them.
I can definitely see how challenging that would be, though, because we're so used to that internal commentary, aren't we? That voice asking, is this okay? Am I doing this right? What should I be doing instead? That kind of thinking just pulls us away from what's actually happening right now.
It really, really does. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, what happens is our minds get totally preoccupied with this internal world we've built, full of worries, plans, regrets, and we literally lose sight of what's right here, right in front of us. We miss the actual texture of the present moment, the now, which, is the only time we're ever actually alive. This constant mental chatter, this preoccupation, it kind of builds a wall between us and just direct, real experience.
That's a really important distinction. So, okay, if the goal is to step back from being totally run by this constant analysis, what's the practical approach? How do we actually do this unthinking or detached observation? What's the advice?
Well, the advice itself is often surprisingly simple. Though, like you said, putting it into practice takes, well, practice. The core instruction is often just, for a moment, try stopping your thoughts, not forcing them away, maybe just letting them settle. You don't need complex techniques. Just sit quietly. Maybe notice your breath coming in and out. Feel the sounds around you, the feeling of being alive in this exact moment. Just for a little while, let go of the need to label everything, to understand it all.
And if someone tries that, maybe just sitting quietly for a few minutes, what might they notice? Even if it's subtle at first, what's that feeling like?
Well, one thing that can happen is suddenly your heart might feel lighter, almost airy. There's this lovely image in some teachings, like a fish that's always been swimming underwater, suddenly finding itself floating effortlessly in the sky. It's that kind of release from the usual mental heaviness. And that's the space where you might start to encounter, something beyond words. It's also where intuition really comes into play. In Japanese Zen, they call it chokan. And this kind of intuition, it isn't something you figure out intellectually. You don't get it from reading books or having someone explain it perfectly. It just arises spontaneously from within, when your mind is calm and open, not fighting everything. There's a great saying, if you can't understand it by thinking, try feeling it without thinking. Because really, this world, this existence, it's so much bigger than our logical minds can fully contain. To really touch that vastness, sometimes just being present in it is way more important than constantly thinking about it.
That really clarifies things. Thinking is a tool, a powerful one, but it doesn't have to be the master running the whole show all the time. So this isn't about throwing out intellect altogether, is it? Thinking helps us solve problems, create things, learn. It's obviously useful.
Well, absolutely. It's a critical tool. But like any tool, it's meant to be used when needed, right? Not something that uses us, constantly driving us.
Right.
The question this tradition raises is, have we become maybe a bit too bound by thinking, too attached to it? It encourages finding maybe more natural, softer way of living, where thought serves its purpose but doesn't dominate every single moment. And finding this doesn't require some huge life change. You can find these little moments of presence, of awakening right in the middle of ordinary life, like really listening to the sound of crickets, or just watching the steam rise from your tea, or even just giving someone your quiet, full attention when they speak. It's often in those simple, mundane moments when we're just there that these deeper insights can quietly take root.
So study, knowledge, analysis, they're amazing gifts, but they aren't the whole story. There's this deeper current, this other way of knowing flowing underneath.
Exactly. Thinking is vital, but it's not the only way to experience reality or to understand ourselves. It's just one part of a much bigger picture.
And talking about understanding ourselves, it feels like we use thought to build our whole identity, don't we? We create these stories. I'm this kind of person. I'm good at X. I'm terrible at Y. And then, our confidence goes up and down based on how well we think we're living up to that story. We get insecure, or maybe we get arrogant.
Yes. And this points to another really crucial insight from this tradition, that self you construct with words, with all those labels and narratives. That's not the real you. The real you is simply alive, right here, right now. And that fundamental aliveness, that presence, is already complete. It doesn't need adding to or improving upon in some fundamental way. It even goes so far as to say, you should stop trying so hard to become something else. Even the goal of trying to become enlightened is seen as just another kind of delusion. It's another thought-created future state that distracts you from the fullness of this moment, right here.
Wow. That's genuinely radical, isn't it? And probably quite difficult for many of us to really let go of. We're so conditioned to strive, to improve, to reach some ideal.
It absolutely is difficult. And that's precisely why the practice of just simply sitting, zazen, as it's called in Zen, is so central. Just to sit. To intentionally not get caught up in thinking. It looks like you're doing nothing, maybe even wasting time from a certain perspective. But it's incredibly deep work. Because inevitably, thoughts will come up when you sit. Your mind won't just go blank. You'll think, am I doing this right? Or, oh, I forgot to reply to that email. Or, my leg hurts.
Right, the usual mental traffic.
Exactly. And the instruction isn't to fight those thoughts or push them away. It's just to let them flow. like that wind we talked about. You
Yeah.
notice them, but you don't need to grab them, analyze them, or follow them down rabbit holes. Just let them pass on by.
And over time, as you practice just letting thoughts be without getting tangled, a kind of quietness starts to settle in. Not because you forced it, but just because the mind is returning to its more natural, less agitated state.
Precisely. It's like the mud settling in a glass of water when you stop stirring it. And what you encounter in that stillness, that is pointed to as your true self. It's not something you can really capture in words. You can't prove it logically. But there's often this very definite, quiet feeling of, this is it. This is home. And from that feeling can come this deep sense of connection, of unity with everything. You realize flowers bloom without needing a reason. The wind blows without a logical argument. People laugh sometimes just because. Simply being alive, just existing, is seen as inherently meaningful, inherently awake, the work of the Buddha, as they might say. It's already present in everything. Which, raises an important question for you listening. What if just being here now is fundamentally enough?
It really loops back perfectly to that initial idea, doesn't it? Don't force the understanding. Just open your heart and be present to what's actually here. So, summing up what we've kind of unpacked today, it seems the message is when you actually stop the relentless trying to think your way through everything, the world can become paradoxically much clearer. And maybe the things that really matter, the truly profound stuff, often can't quite be captured by words anyway.
Yes, exactly. The path here isn't about adding more knowledge or more techniques. It's fundamentally about letting go of what's unnecessary, the mental clutter, the constant striving. And in that space that opens up, in that seeming nothingness, that's where truth is said to reside. So maybe a practical takeaway is this. When your head feels noisy, when the thoughts are just racing, maybe just try gently closing your eyes, take a deep breath. And for just a moment, try letting it all go. Because in that quietness, maybe what you've been searching for, that sense of peace or clarity, is actually already there. It wasn't far away at all. What if the most valuable things aren't out there somewhere to be found, but they're right here, always available in your own present moment awareness?
So, what does this all mean for you? How might this resonate in your own life? It's something to consider, isn't it? Just for a moment, what might actually emerge for you if you were to gently stop thinking and truly feel what is already undeniably here? Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
Thank you for being here with us at Yuno and Kenzo Koga, where ancient wisdom meets modern life.
Subscribe now and join us on this journey of awakening. If this resonates, tap like and share it with someone who would appreciate a moment of peace today. And feel free to share any thoughts or reflections in the comments. We'd love to hear from you